There was a time when the Las Vegas Strip was defined by one thing, not just the neon lights or the casinos, but the buffet. For just $49.99, you could eat like royalty, endless shrimp-carved prime rib mountains of desserts. The buffet wasn't just food, it was the soul of Vegas, a symbol of value excess and fun for the everyday American. But in 2025, the Vegas buffet is all but dead. Walk into the Strip today, and those massive dining halls once packed with families are dark, silent, and shuttered. In their place, expensive steakhouses and Michelin-starred restaurants where a single entree costs more than an entire family once spent at the buffet. So, what happened? Was it COVID-19, rising food costs, or something more sinister? The truth is, harsher corporate greed killed the Vegas buffet. The same casinos that built their empires on cheap all-you-can-eat spreads discovered they could make far more money by replacing them with upscale dining. And in that shift, they erased one of the city's biggest attractions. Tonight, we'll uncover how the $1 buffet of 1946 grew into a Vegas legend, why it collapsed, and what its death reveals about the new Vegas, a city no longer built for everyone, but only for those who can afford it. Because if the buffet is gone, then maybe the Vegas we knew is gone too. The story of the Vegas buffet begins in 1946, when the El Rancho Vegas Hotel introduced something revolutionary, the Buckaroo's Buffet. For just $1, guests could pile their plates with roast beef salads and desserts all night long. It was cheap, plentiful, and unlike anything Americans had seen before. That moment didn't just launch a new dining concept, it created the identity of Las Vegas as the land of excess. Through the 1960s and 1970s, the buffet became a cornerstone of the Strip. Casinos discovered that offering dirt-cheap meals wasn't just hospitality, it was strategy. The buffet was the bait. Tourists came for the food, but stayed for the slots, the tables, and the shows. By the 1980s, Vegas buffets were legendary. Hotels like the Riviera Flamingo and Excalibur built cavernous dining halls with room for thousands of guests at a time. The golden age arrived in the 1990s. Buffets were everywhere, each one trying to outdo the other. The Circus buffet was packed with families on a budget. The MGM Grand Buffet boasted endless crab legs and prime rib, the crown jewel. The Bellagio Buffet, famous for serving gourmet dishes like lamb chops and caviar for a fraction of what fine dining would cost elsewhere. And the numbers were staggering. A 1995 survey showed that more than 70% of Vegas visitors hit a buffet during their trip. For many, it wasn't the gambling or the shows that brought them back, it was the promise of eating like kings for $10 or less. Tourists lined up for hours, balancing trays of shrimp, fried chicken, and cheesecake under neon lights. The buffet wasn't just a meal, it was a spectacle, a ritual part of the Vegas experience itself. By the early 2000s, the Mega Buffet had become a symbol of the Strip's identity. The Rio Carnival World Buffet offered over 300 dishes from around the world, while the Wynn Buffet dazzled guests with 15 live cooking stations. The message was clear: no matter who you were, no matter your budget, Vegas had a seat at the table for you. But this era of abundance wasn't just about food, it was about equality. The buffet let a bus driver from Kansas or a secretary from Ohio sit side by side with a millionaire eating from the same spread, experiencing the same luxury. It was Vegas distilled into a plate, affordable, excessive, democratic. And that's what made the buffet more than just dining. It was a promise that anyone, no matter how ordinary, could come to Vegas and taste the good life. A promise that, as we'll soon see, wouldn't last forever. The downfall of the Vegas buffet didn't happen overnight. It began slowly, with cracks forming in a tradition that had once seemed unshakable. By the late 2000s, the first warning signs were clear. The 2008 financial crisis hit Las Vegas harder than almost any other city in America. Tourism plummeted, conventions were canceled, and suddenly casinos could no longer justify serving lobster tails and crab legs at near giveaway prices. At the same time, the cost of food skyrocketed. Prices for beef, seafood, and dairy rose sharply while labor costs continued to climb. What once looked like a smart loss-leader cheap buffets bringing in gamblers now looked like a bleeding wound on casino balance sheets. Casinos responded quietly at first. They cut quality. Shrimp cocktails got smaller. Prime rib was replaced with cheaper cuts. Desserts came prepackaged instead of fresh. Longtime visitors began to notice the difference. By 2012, the old promise of eat like a king for $5 was gone. In its place were buffets charging $20, $30, even $40 per person and offering less. The biggest shift came with the rise of resort fees. By the mid-2010s, hotels across the Strip began charging hidden daily surcharges, sometimes $35, $45 per night, that gave guests little more than Wi-Fi or access to the gym. Parking fees soon followed. Suddenly, visitors who once budgeted for a cheap Vegas getaway found themselves nickel and dimed at every turn. The buffet, once the ultimate value, now felt like part of a system designed to squeeze every last dollar out of guests. Casinos, however, saw an opportunity. Instead of pouring money into endless buffets, they shifted toward fine dining. Why feed a tourist for $10 when you could charge $100 for a steak at a celebrity chef restaurant? Enter names like Gordon Ramsay, Wolfgang Puck, and Joel Robuchon. Their restaurants became the new stars of the Strip, replacing buffets as the centerpieces of casino dining. Even the buffets that survived changed their identity. The Bacchanal Buffet at Caesar's Palace, opened in 2012, was hailed as the most extravagant buffet in Vegas, but it came with a price tag of $70 per person. For a family of 4, that meant nearly $300 just to eat dinner, hardly the affordable dream that made Buffett's famous in the first place. And then came the final blow, the COVID-19 pandemic. In March 2020, every buffet on the Strip shut down. Health regulations made the idea of communal serving lines seem unthinkable. Casino executives quietly admitted what they had been thinking for years: buffets were expensive, wasteful, and outdated. When the Strip reopened in late 2020 and 2021, most buffets didn't return. The numbers are staggering. Before the pandemic, there were more than 60 buffets across Las Vegas. By 2022, fewer than 15 had reopened. By 2025, that number is even smaller. Iconic names like the MGM Grand Buffet and the Mirage Buffet are gone for good, replaced by food halls, food courts, and high-end dining. Tourists noticed. On Reddit and TripAdvisor, threads exploded with complaints. Vegas isn't fun anymore, it's just expensive. Travelers who once came for the buffets now skip Vegas altogether, choosing cheaper vacations in Florida, Mexico, or cruise ships. The Vegas buffet didn't die of natural causes, it was pushed off a cliff. Rising costs, hidden fees, and the hunger for higher profits turned an American icon into an endangered species. And in its place, corporate greed built a city where value is gone and luxury is the only thing that matters. If the Vegas buffet was the victim, then the killers were clear corporate greed. When casinos realized they could make more money by replacing all-you-can-eat spreads with upscale dining, they didn't hesitate. The death of the buffet wasn't an accident. It was a calculated decision. Start with the giants. Caesars Entertainment, MGM Resorts, International, and Wynn Resorts control the majority of the Strip. In the 1990s, their buffets were the pride of their properties, designed to draw in the masses. But by the 2010s, executives were asking a new question: why serve hundreds of guests at $20 each when they could serve a fraction of that at $200 a head? The math was simple, and the buffets didn't stand a chance. Take Caesars, for example. In 2012, it unveiled the Bacchanal Buffet not as a value option but as a luxury spectacle. With a $70-$80 price tag, it was marketed as the best buffet in America, but it was no longer about affordability. Instead, it was about exclusivity, Lobster tails, truffle dishes, Wagyu beef, things designed to wow wealthy visitors, not to serve everyday families. MGM Resorts took a different route. In 2021, it permanently shut down several of its buffets, including the once popular Area Buffet and Mandarin Buffet. In their place came food halls, curated spaces filled with celebrity-branded eateries. What was once a $15 buffet became a $25 burger, a $12 cupcake, or a $9 latte. Profit margins soared. The house always wins, and this time the players were the customers themselves. Then came the celebrity chefs. Gordon Ramsay opened multiple restaurants on the Strip, from Hell's Kitchen to Gordon Ramsay Steak, drawing diners who were willing to pay $100+ for an entree. Wolfgang Puck and Joel Robuchon brought fine dining prestige, charging more for a single course than a buffet once charged for an entire feast. These restaurants weren't just meals, they were status symbols, and they fit perfectly into the casino's new strategy, catering to the elite, not the masses. Even the Wynn Buffet, which survived the pandemic, transformed. Once praised for its value, it reinvented itself as a high-end experience, charging nearly $70 per person with add-ons that could push the bill far higher. What had once been democratic, everyone eating from the same spread, was now tiered luxury. The casualties were more than just tourists. Thousands of buffet workers, chefs, servers, dishwashers, lost their jobs when their dining halls were closed or converted. In 2020 alone, an estimated 4,000 hospitality workers tied to buffets were laid off. For corporations, it was cost-cutting. For families, it was devastation. And yet the executives celebrated. Casino earnings reports boasted of record revenues from dining divisions, even as visitors complained that Vegas had lost its soul. In one 2023 investor call, an MGM executive bragged that food and beverage profits had risen 23% year-over-year after replacing buffets with premium dining. The message was clear: the bottom line mattered more than tradition, more than history, and certainly more than customer loyalty. So who gained from the death of the buffet? The casinos, who replaced low-margin food with high-margin exclusivity. The celebrity chefs, who turned the Strip into their personal showcase, and the shareholders who cashed in on rising profits. Who lost everyone else? Tourists, who once felt welcome. Workers, who once had stable jobs. Families, who once traveled to Vegas because they knew they could eat like royalty on a budget. The death of the buffet wasn't inevitable. It was engineered. And behind every closed buffet door is a reminder of the corporate greed that erased one of the city's greatest attractions. The death of the Vegas buffet wasn't just the loss of a dining option. It was the loss of a cultural icon, a tradition that defined the Strip for generations. And with it, something deeper has vanished: the soul of Las Vegas itself. For decades, the buffet was the great equalizer. A family from Ohio, a group of college kids from California, or a retiree from Florida could all sit side by side and enjoy the same crab legs, the same prime rib, the same chocolate fountain. It didn't matter how much money you had in your pocket, the buffet made you feel like you belonged. That spirit is gone. When the buffets disappeared, thousands of jobs went with them. Chefs, line cooks, waiters, bussers, and dishwashers. Many of them union workers found themselves unemployed. During the pandemic closures of 2020, an estimated 4,000 hospitality workers tied to buffets were laid off, and many never returned. Even as Vegas reopened, the jobs didn't come back because the buffets didn't either. Instead, sleek food halls and overpriced fine dining replaced them, concepts that require far fewer employees. For the corporations, it was efficiency. For workers, it was devastation. Tourists felt the sting too. Online forums like Reddit and TripAdvisor are filled with complaints. Vegas isn't fun anymore, it's just expensive. One traveler wrote in 2023, "I used to come every year with my family. We'd hit the buffet, gamble a little, and see a show. Now everything costs double, and the buffets we loved are gone. It doesn't feel like Vegas anymore. The numbers reflect this shift. Surveys show that in the 1990s, over 70% of Vegas visitors reported eating at least one buffet during their stay. By 2024, that number had dropped below 25%, largely because so few buffets even remain. What was once a defining attraction has become a rarity, something you have to hunt for instead of something that welcomed you at every corner. The contrast is painful. On one side of the Strip, wealthy tourists sip $300 bottles of wine at celebrity chef restaurants eating dishes with truffle shavings and Wagyu beef. Just a block away, American families wander the streets looking for affordable meals only to settle for fast food chains. The democratic spirit of Vegas, the idea that everyone rich or poor could taste luxury for a night, is disappearing. And the reputation of Vegas is suffering. Once praised as the city that gives you more for less, it is now criticized as a scam city where hidden fees and overpriced meals overshadow the fun. The buffet was more than food, it was proof that Vegas valued the everyday American. Without it, many feel the city has betrayed them. Locals echo this sentiment. A former buffet worker at the Mirage summed it up simply. When they closed the buffet, it wasn't just a restaurant that died. A piece of Vegas died with it. That piece was the promise that no matter who you were, you had a seat at the table. The Strip still glitters, but it glitters differently now. The neon lights shine for the elite, not for the masses. And while corporate executives celebrate record dining profits, the city itself feels emptier, hollowed out by the absence of the one tradition that once united everyone. The death of the Vegas buffet has left a vacuum, and the city has yet to find anything that can truly replace it. The question haunting Las Vegas today is simple. If the buffet is gone, what does that say about the future of the city itself? For decades, buffets were more than just dining. They were a promise that Vegas was a place for everyone. But without them, the Strip risks becoming something very different. Not America's playground, but a gated luxury zone for the global elite. Look at the trajectory. With buffets gone and affordable meals nearly extinct, Vegas is rebranding itself as a high-end destination. The Strip now pushes celebrity restaurants, fine dining steakhouses, and exclusive tasting menus that cost $150 to $500 per person. This is not the Vegas of the 1990s where families lined up for shrimp cocktails and prime rib. This is closer to Monaco, a playground for millionaires and billionaires. The danger is clear. When a city builds itself only for the wealthy, it loses its mass appeal. Vegas once drew 40 million visitors annually, not because it was exclusive, but because it was accessible. A bus driver from Kansas and a tech CEO from Silicon Valley could both sit at the same buffet table eating the same food, sharing the same dream. Without that accessibility, Vegas risks alienating the very middle-class Americans who built its reputation. And history offers a warning. Atlantic City tried to follow Vegas's model but failed. When its casinos raised prices and offered less value, ordinary tourists stopped coming. The result was catastrophic boarded-up casinos, empty boardwalks, and a reputation that never recovered. Las Vegas, by killing off its buffets, may be writing the same tragic script, only dressed up with brighter lights. There's also the question of resilience. Buffets were cheap, yes, but they were also reliable anchors that kept millions of people returning year after year. By replacing them with high-margin dining, Vegas has tied its future to the spending habits of the elite. But what happens when those elites stop coming? COVID-19 in 2020 proved how fragile Vegas can be when international travel collapses. Casinos shut down, workers were laid off, and the city turned into a ghost town almost overnight. If Vegas bets everything on luxury, it may not survive the next global downturn. For locals, the future looks equally grim. Workers who once thrived in buffet kitchens now face unemployment, or low-wage jobs in smaller food halls. Families who once enjoyed the pride of eating like kings at the strip buffets now feel excluded. The buffet was more than a cheap meal. It was a piece of Vegas identity that locals could share with tourists. Its loss deepens the divide between the Strip and the community that surrounds it. So, what is the future of Las Vegas? Some say the buffet may survive in smaller off-strip casinos clinging to life as a nostalgic attraction. Others believe it will vanish entirely, replaced by boutique dining and food halls. But the bigger question is, can Vegas still claim to be for everyone if its most iconic democratic tradition is dead? The answer may decide more than just dining. It may decide whether Vegas remains America's city of dreams or becomes just another glittering playground for the rich with nothing left for ordinary people. Because the truth is this: when corporate greed erased the buffet, it erased the one thing that proved Las Vegas belonged to everyone. And if the buffet is gone, maybe the real Vegas is gone too. The story of the Vegas buffet is the story of a city that once promised everything to everyone, and then broke that promise. From the $1 Buckaroos buffet in 1946 to the mega buffets of the 1990s, this tradition defined Las Vegas. It was cheap, it was excessive, and it made every visitor feel like they belonged. But in 2025, that legacy has been erased. The buffets are gone, replaced by $150 steakhouses, celebrity chef, dining, and corporate strategies designed to maximize profit at all costs. What was once the beating heart of the Strip has been ripped out by corporate greed. The result is a city divided. On one side, the elite sip champagne and eat Wagyu under neon lights. On the other, ordinary Americans, once the lifeblood of Vegas, are priced out, left wandering past shuttered buffet halls that used to welcome them. And now comes the haunting question. If Las Vegas no longer belongs to everyone, then who does it belong to? Because the death of the buffet is more than the loss of cheap food. It's the loss of Vegas's identity. The Strip still shines, but its glow feels colder now, less welcoming, more exclusive. So I'll ask you, when the biggest attraction of Las Vegas is gone, will you still feel the urge to visit? Or has the Vegas you loved already died along with the buffet?